Hi biology students, this is Mrs. Goldtree. We're going to spend a few minutes going through some chemistry notes. You received guided notes in last time you were at class, so take a minute to get those notes out if you don't already, and follow along as we go through the notes. Fill in the spaces that are blank as we go. Okay, I'm going to go through this kind of quickly, so feel free to pause as you need to. Matter is anything that occupies space and has mass. There are three states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. What is matter made up of? It's made up of elements. Elements are the simplest form of a substance, so and they cannot be broken down to a smaller element. There are 25 elements that are essential for life. So 25 out of these, all the elements in the periodic table are essential for living species. But only 4 of them make up 96% of the mass of most living organisms. So just 4 elements make up 96% of the mass of most living organisms. And those 4 elements are carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. What are elements made out of? They're made out of atoms. This, I don't have a space or a dash next to it on the guided notes, but I suggest you write down this definition. Atoms are the smallest unit of an element, which retains all of the properties of the element. So the word atom comes from the Greek word a and temos, which means a means not and temos means to cut. So to not cut. So you're not able to cut these an atom down to at all and without losing some of the property of that element. Okay, so what is an atom made of? It has a nucleus in the center, and this contains protons and neutrons. Protons have a positive charge and neutrons have a neutral charge. Electrons have a negative charge, and they rotate outside and kind of a cloud outside of the nucleus of the atom. There is no net charge because there's an equal number of protons and electrons. Isotopes are when atoms have the same of the same element contain different numbers of neutrons. The nuclei are unstable and they break down. They're used for radioactive dating, and they decay at a constant exponential rate. So oftentimes you'll hear of carbon dating of fossils, and you'll learn about that when we get to that part of that unit. Electrons are found in a cloud, like I said, around the nucleus of the atom. And there's levels of orbitals, and each can only hold a certain number of electrons. And only these outer electrons are available for bonding. These are called the valence electrons. And it's different for different elements. So the elements in this column only have 1 valence electron. 2 here. Noble gases, they only have 8, except for helium. So this is just kind of extraneous information. You don't need to know this right now. But when we talk about bonding, we're talking about these outer electrons. Okay. There are 3 main types of bonds: covalent bonds, ionic bonds, and hydrogen bonds. This is carbon dioxide, and this is, can I move this down? Oh, sorry. This is showing those electrons being shared on the valence ring of electrons with the oxygen and carbon atoms. Okay, so a covalent bond is between 2 atoms that share electrons. And sugars, fat, protein, water, they all have covalent they don't have covalent bonds as part of their molecular compound. They're more stable than the elements are just on their own. So they're a very strong bond. Methane is an example. CH4 is an example of covalent bonds. ammonia, NH3, water, H2O. These all have covalent bonds. Ionic bonds are when the electrons are not shared equally. So chloride ion, this is a chloride atom and a sodium atom. And if sodium chloride, which is salt, is in a water or some sort of solution, an electron will leave from sodium and jump onto the chloride atom, and this will become a chloride ion, and it has a negative charge because it has this extra electron. And likewise, the sodium ion becomes a cation. It has a positive charge because it's lost one electron, so it has a more of a positive charge. These bonds are weaker than covalent bonds. Okay, this is kind of just what I just said here. Ions are atoms or groups of atoms that gain or lose one or more electron. And they either have a positive charge or a negative charge. Hydrogen bonds are the third type of bond that are important for living systems. There is an attraction of opposite charges between the hydrogen and oxygen. So there's a covalent bond between the hydrogen and the oxygen of one molecule of water. But then when a whole bunch of water molecules are together, there's a weak bond that forms between the hydrogen atoms of one water molecule and the oxygen atoms of another water molecule. So here's the hydrogen bond right here between hydrogen of one atom of one water molecule and the oxygen from a different water molecule. They're kind of weak bonds individually, but together they can become very strong. There's usually a whole lot of hydrogen bonds are formed together, and collectively they are strong, and they are the reason for some of the properties of water that we'll be studying soon. Also, hydrogen bonds are important in proteins, nucleic acids. For that double helix shape, there's hydrogen bonds between all the nitrogenous bases, and then water, of course. Acids and bases. An acid is a substance which, when added to water, produces hydrogen ions. A base is a substance, when added to water, produces hydroxide ions. This has kind of a scale and it shows you some common household items and how their pH and where they would lie on the pH scale. Here's a way to visualize the pH scale. So as this is OH minus is the hydroxide ion. As the hydroxide ion increases, the hydrogen ion concentration decreases. These brackets around here are concentration. So as the concentration of hydroxide increases, hydrogen ions decrease, and the pH goes up. And as it goes up, the solution becomes more and more basic. And this scale goes up to 14 on the basic scale. So anything above 7, which is neutral, is basic. 7 itself is neutral. And look at 7, which is neutral, there's an equal number of hydrogen ions and hydroxide ions. So what happens when you put hydrogen ions and hydroxide ions together? H2, 2 hydrogens, 1 oxygen. That's pure water. Pure water is neutral. And then as you have more hydrogen ions in the solution, there's fewer hydroxide ions, more hydrogen ions, and the scale goes down. Below 7 is an acidic solution, and it goes all the way to 0. So an example of a pure 0 pH solution would be hydrogen chloride. Sodium hydroxide is a common pure base, a base of 14. Here's a pH scale again, and this is from a pH strip, and you guys will be using pH strips in our labs. And the color changes, and you hold up your pH strip to a standard scale, and you can kind of determine what the pH of the solution is. Really important for living organisms that they are within a very tight range of pH. I think we talked about this during homeostasis. So here it is again. 0 to just below 7 is acidic, 7 is neutral, and then greater than 7 to 14 is alkaline, also called basic. Basic and alkaline, those are synonymous terms. Okay, I hope that was helpful, and I'll see you in class.